Good afternoon, friends. A happy Valentine's week to you, and welcome to the Rotary Club of York, the 26th largest Rotary Club in the world, and club dedicated to imagining and living out the Rotary mission of service above self. I am Glenn Miller, the club president. Our opening song today, America the Beautiful, and the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Mike Oshman. Our invocation will be led by past President Jackie Summers. And our visitors and visiting Rotarians will be introduced by Joyce Santiago. Please take a moment to silence your electronic devices.
Please join me in singing America the Beautiful.
Oh, beautiful for space, the sky is full and the waves are green. For there's majesty on God shed His grace on thee, and crown thy good ways from from sea to shining sea.
Please join me in a word of prayer. Dear Lord, creator and sustainer of all that is and will ever be, we give you thanks. May we be ever mindful of the opportunities you've made known to us to render service to our community, our country, and nations throughout the world, particularly in times of great need. Help us to be mindful of the enduring values of life, focusing our efforts on doing all we can to ensure a better and more meaningful path for future generations. Thank you for our speaker and his work in fostering operational strategies and building business relationships to promote high-level sports and entertainment. We're grateful for the blessing of his spirit and for the fellowship and friendship that has broadened our lives. We lift all of this up to you in honor and praise. Amen.
I am pleased to have the honor of introducing our guests for today's meeting. When I call your name, please stand and remain standing until President Glenn has had the opportunity to welcome you. First, our visiting Rotarians, Rashida Martin from North York, Brian Jones from Harrisburg. Guests are Jean McWorte, and if I mispronounce your name, I apologize. Youth Exchange Committee, guest of Youth Exchange Committee. Julian Fiery, guest of Youth Exchange Committee. Krista Dar, guest of Youth Exchange Committee. Maxwell McCormick, guest of Youth Exchange Committee. Kevin May, guest of Jen May. John Kristick Sr., guest of our speaker. Rosalie Kristick, guest of our speaker. Bruce Collar, guest of our speaker. And Jeff Kristick, guest of our speaker. Jackson Bryant, guest of Charlie Snyder. Oma Gio Mariso, I don't know if I messed that up, but guest of Frank Countess. Rosemary Countess, guest of Frank Countess. Ben Gletzer, guest of Frank Countess. Rebecca Countess, guest of Frank Countess. Molly Salda, guest of Jeff Vermillion. Kim Coops, guest of Dan May. Steve Poirieri, guest of Dan May. Ben Shipley, guest of Matt Summer. Dave McLaughlin, guest of Jim Anderson. And Cora Taylor, guest of Andy Rollins.
Friends, we are grateful to have you with us today. I know that you will very much enjoy our program today, and I hope you are already enjoying the diverse community leaders who surround you at these tables. I hope you will return to us again to visit and perhaps even consider joining our ranks. Rotarians, please help me welcome our visitors and our visiting Rotarians. You may be seated. Several announcements for the good of the order. The Youth Exchange Committee will meet tomorrow at high noon via Zoom. The IDEA Committee meets on Monday, February the 20th at 8 a.m. also via Zoom. I received a thank you note in my weekly envelope from Lynn, from the president of the Uptown Club. You will recall that we had a delegation from that club visiting with us in honor of their milestone anniversary. They were a club that sprang from us, and I shared with you on his behalf their appreciation for the invitation to be here. And his note that since they sprung from our loins, they are connected to our deep and abiding legacy. And so it was wonderful to have them with us. And now, look at his words. And now, our executive director, Lynn, has a special and happy introduction to make. Lynn.
Thank you, President Glenn. So I am delighted to introduce you to our new staff member, Heather Barnhart. Can you stand up for a second, Heather? I promised that she would have to speak today. So I'm delighted that Heather's joining us as our part-time administrative coordinator. This is her second day, so she knows everything. She knows all of your names now. She comes to us from working in a lot of associations and membership organizations, so I think she knows kind of the deal with that. If you need something to talk to her about, ask her about her diabetic.
Welcome, Heather. We are very glad to have you. It's been nice to see Lynn smiling more broadly again now that she has held in the office. Welcome again to the Rotary Club of York. We're glad to have you. And now our youth exchange student, Max McCormick, would like to say a few words to you. Max, your podium is yours.
Hello, everyone. I just wanted to come up here for a brief moment to express my thanks for the Rotary Club. A few weeks ago, I got the news that I was approved for my scholarship to go to the Czech Republic, which, being almost $8,000, is a pretty big deal to me. And seeing this opportunity has changed my life would be a pretty big undertaking. I really feel that through this, I'm becoming a part of something much, much bigger than myself. I'm so grateful not only for this scholarship, but for the unending support that the Rotary Club of York has provided me. For an experience like this, everything is new to me. And it brings so much comfort to know that there are so many people willing to help and guide me right here in my life. I've never felt more welcome. Thank you for having me.
Actually, let me just say on all of our behalf, you are more than welcome. You will do us proud in this exchange. And let me also just say a word to all of us that is hopefully just a reminder of what you already know, but an important thing to be reminded of from time to time. We're able to do this kind of remarkable work, both by the generosity of the club itself. Of course, the Youth Exchange Program is one of our most important programs, and we devote a fair amount of resources financially for that, and also from the Youth Milano Endowed Fund on the CEX side of the house, which provides significant additional funds every year for the support of our Youth Exchange Program. So between those two things, that's what enables us to do what we're able to do for Max. And again, you have our thanks for your gratitude and all the best to you. And now, you have been hearing about the recently approved international project in Sendapa, and today Jim Conover is here to give us an important update on that. Jim?
Good afternoon, everyone. As Rotarians, we all understand our commitment to improving lives of those all over the world. And as part of that network, we have the opportunity to learn about different cultures by building relationships around the world. And also as part of that network, we have an opportunity to apply for Rotary Foundation or District Club grants to match projects that we develop at our own club. And we have developed a project in Sendapa, as you've heard about. This is the first global project that we've been working on for the last 5 or 6 years. So it's really been important to our committee to spend time and make this a really successful project. Every day, today I'm here to ask you to make a gift to that fund, into that project. Every day we get reminders on how fortunate we are to be U.S. citizens. In Sendapa, Ethiopia, residents earn less than $2 a day, and 50% of the residents do not have access to a toilet. It's projected that in 2023, the inflation rate in Ethiopia is 28%. Our project is pretty simple. We are going to build 16 toilets to improve sanitation, which will then improve water quality and improve the health of Sendapa. We also are going to do that with plastic water bottles, which will reduce pollution in the community. The project's expected to start by the end of this year, but we're fundraising in the mode now because we need to apply to the Rotary Foundation. We need to demonstrate a local commitment from our club in order to receive matching funds from the Rotary Foundation. Our goal is to raise $6,000 from Rotarians in this club. We are now at $3,000, so we have a ways to go. We're spending February as a real primary fundraising campaign yearly. Before the meeting, you'll see at our tables, there's a table out front where we have members of our global grants committee asking you to make a gift. It'll be very easy to do. I do want to mention that we are not just helicoptering into this community. This project was developed by Sendapans. Dr. Fraser and his team at the Sendapa Family Health Center. That is due to a relationship that Andy Siegel, our Rotarian, has developed over years through medical mission trips with Sendapa. So Dr. Fraser and his team are telling us that having quality toilets and improving sanitation is one of the biggest priorities of that community and really improve health. We also are developing a relationship with the Rotary Club in Addis Ababa in Ethiopia. That club will help us with identifying local resources to support the project, identifying volunteers, and helping us with the Rotary report foundation report. So today I asked on behalf of the Global Grants Committee for you to consider a gift to help support this Sendapa sanitation project. We have really fortunate that Tom McCracken and Andy Siegel Church have created a matching pool of $6,000. So your gift of $1 will be matched by this local matching pool, plus it will be matched by the Rotary Foundation and the district. And those dollars coming from the Rotary Foundation and the district are your dollars. You have been giving donations to the Rotary Foundation for years. Those are now coming back to us for this district and coming back to us to support this project. So for every dollar you contribute, we'll get $2.80 per person. We need to raise these before the end of February so we can get our application. And it's really very easy. You can bring a check to the Rotary Club, give it to Lynn or give it to one of the Global Grants Committee members at the table. You can go online to our website, click the donate button, and just list how much you'd like to give and mention the Global Grants Project or the Sendapa project. We want to thank everybody who's already made a gift and made a pledge. We're really excited about that. We have already received 2 commitments from other clubs in our district for this project. So we really are working hard to make this a success. So I'll just leave you with this, that after working with the folks in Sendapa for the last 2 years, we know that their talent is there. So we really encourage you to participate. Thank you so much.
I don't know about any of you, but I think a nearly 3-for-1 return on investment is about as good as it gets. So what a terrific job the committee has done. I was talking to Andy just a little bit ago, and you know, the intersections with this particular project are really remarkable. Intersections with another important local group in the church that brought this together, and matching funds from them. Intersection with local involvement in that project. There is a world away. Andy will be going in July, as I understand it, so we will have a Rotarian boots on the ground. And I think President-elect Aaron would allow you to report on that experience when you come back. This is just a really remarkable opportunity. As James said, they're counting on us, and when people count on the Rotary Club of York, we come through. So I have every confidence we're going to do that on behalf of this great project. Let me also, this is a good moment for me to say that several of you have undoubtedly been wondering what, if anything, we're planning to do with regard to the tragedy that's been unfolding in the last week or more in Turkey and Syria. The CEF board discussed this by email this week. We have approved the release of $5,000 of funds from our disaster relief funds that we hold for just such situations. There will be opportunity for you to make contributions to that cause as well. By next week, we'll have a little more detail. We've gotten great information from Rotary International and trustworthy charities and groups on the ground that we can make this to, and we actually have a potential of a local connection to a local Rotarian. So more details on that next week, but do know that opportunity for your support is coming. And now, Preserve Planet Earth Chair Joe Stein will give us a mini moment. Joe? You sat all the way in the back. And then you leave it off. That's half my time just getting up there. Thank you, President Glenn. So since taking over as chair of the PPE committee in part short, one of the things that we will are striving to do in the upcoming year and beyond is to provide education opportunities about the environment as it affects us locally and regionally. So one of the things we started off with is coming up with a list of potential speakers to present at the city. We're happy to announce that we will have one for our Earth Day program in April. We're going to request time here at the podium, and thanks to President Glenn for allowing us to have this opportunity where we can provide information to you. And then Al Sykes and I are both participating in a regional the district environmental summit that's occurring approximately quarterly. So we have our next day of the initial meeting, and we have another one coming up in March. We're really looking forward to learning what other clubs are doing in our district and partnering with them and then providing some information back to you. One of the things that we just wanted to touch on today was a potential opportunity. Kind of, some people will be like, did you know? We'll sometimes share information to the announcers, sometimes we'll get information on the table. But one of the things we just wanted to share today was sometimes we think about recycling and part of our routine life, but can we always do that extra step? The PPE committee provided you with this green plastic bag. Thank you to all of you who participated with that. We reached out to the York County Solid Waste Authority and asked them, what is something that maybe most people don't understand or realize about recycling? And one of the items we shared with us is that electronics are a huge item that are being recycled by law, but you can't put them out in your regular routine track. The computers, computer peripherals such as keyboards, your mouse, your monitors, televisions, and all those types of things are required to be recycled. And York County residents can take unuseful electronics for free recycling at York County Solid Waste Authority. Fairview Township and Penn Township each have their own pickups as well for those who are in the outlying areas of the county, and all that information can be found on the York County Solid Waste Authority website. And these are the kind of little tidbits that we'll provide you with, this little digi-nodes and other opportunities to help sustain our environment, live green, and to support our general community. Also, keep a lookout. PPE is going to look to schedule a happy hour where we're going to invite you all to come out, maybe share your ideas of what you'd like to see us do, and learn a little bit more about us as well as we embark this upcoming year of events. So thank you for your time. couldn't help but think while Joe was speaking of the remarkable symmetry between our emphasis here, thanks to the work of that committee, in part on recycling right here at home. And we're also working on a project in Singapore that's going to recycle plastics in toilets. It's a smaller world than we think. Joe, the happy hour idea is a great idea. I'm always in favor of that, as most of you know. And I'm just assuming it will not be with disposable plastic cups. It will not. Very good. All right. Thank you, Joe. And now it is my pleasure to welcome to the podium past President John Kleindienst, who will introduce our speaker for the day.
Thank you, President Glenn. Before I introduce the speaker, I just wanted to, on behalf of the program committee, indicate that we get ideas for programs from a lot of different places. In fact, President Mike, who chairs the committee, would say we don't get enough, but we get a lot of ideas from other places. So I just want to give credit today. The idea for this program actually came from the mother. So I would just like to say thanks to Rosemary Countess. So I think you're here for this idea. I mean, ideas come from everywhere, and a lot of them are great ideas. So it's a great idea. So I'll introduce our speaker, John Kristick, who is the president of Premier Partnerships. John joined Premier Partnerships as president in July of 2018. He works with company founders Randy Bernstein and Alan Rothenberg and the leadership team to define and implement company strategies while managing the company's key business relationships and leaders in the sports and entertainment industry. He's a senior sports marketing executive with more than 25 years of experience working on the management, sales, and marketing of major sports properties. I'm going to talk about this today, but prior to joining Premier as the executive director of the United Big Committee for Canada, Mexico, and the United States, John led a three-country team with the responsibility for organizing a successful bid to host the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Now, a lot of you probably know what FIFA is. I did not. I had to look it up. It's a Fédération Internationale de Football Association in France, founded in 1904. We call it the International Federation of Associates in Football. But when I say football, I think round ball, not oblong ball. So with that explanation, now it makes more sense. But he led the bid to host the 2026 FIFA World Cup in North America. It was the most expensive sports event we have ever produced, adhering to FIFA's detailed bid requirements. Building upon his previous role as managing director of the U.S. bid for the 2022 FIFA World Cup, the role tapped John's leadership skills by involving all facets of shareholder management at the federal, state, regional, and city government level, stadium and facility level across 3 countries. John's involvement in international soccer spans more than 2 decades, as he's been involved in every FIFA World Cup since 1994, working in either sponsorship in 1994, 1998 in France, broadcasting in the 2002 South Korea, Japan, and 2006 Germany World Cup, in bidding, representing bids at the 2010 World Cup in South Africa and the 2018 FIFA World Cup in Russia, for marketing support via the WPP agencies involved with FIFA for sponsorship of the 2014 FIFA World Cup in Brazil. Prior to 2009, John was based in Europe for 15 years, serving key roles for leading sports marketing companies. As executive director for Infront Sports in India, he led all marketing and corporate communications from 2001 to 2008, with clients ranging all across all sports, including soccer, basketball, and winter sports. He also oversaw the company's entry to the Asian market with a specific emphasis on China. John is a graduate of George Mason University with a degree in speech communication. He is married, has 3 children, and calls home the Eastern Shore of Maryland. Fellow Rotarians, please give a warm welcome to work native John Kristick.
Got this laptop here, a little bit of IT support is needed. Good afternoon, my name is John. Thank you for the wonderful introduction. And members of the Rotary Club, it's my distinct honor to be here. It's nice to come home. I'm sure my mom and dad are glad you're here today. Both my brother and the other friends. I'd like to see me more back here. It doesn't happen as much as we'd like, but it's certainly good to have the opportunity to come and speak. And the conferences, I appreciate the persistence and patience, because this is something we've tried to pull off a few times in the past, and for whatever reason, despite our best intentions, it didn't always come together. But and there's this conference to make it right. And I will say it's remarkable to be back, and that is very humbling introduction. And obviously, work means a lot for all of us. And particularly myself, born and raised here, and even driving up or down Richmond Avenue today, just the smell of snack food. And the reason it just touched me, I used to work in the bag shop here, I worked for many years, over the summers, every day, after small. Let me see here. I'm going to change it. I have a few slides. I'm going to try to keep this kind of simple. Long background, all I did lots of acting, lots of different things that I've done. I'll try to keep it focused on something that I think will resonate with all of you, which is the work. But so often people ask me about how did you ever get involved with an event? What was it somehow got you involved with something at this level? And without going into great detail, I kind of have four buckets. Clearly, I grew up in Europe, and it meant so much to me, but there's always like pivotal moments. And I try to trace back and say, how did I get it? And who's told us Israel? High school volleyball. And volleyball was a sport that I never knew anything about. But I can tell you, I was walking down second floor of Central High School. I can remember clearly the day. And out of the blue, someone taps me on the shoulder and introduced me to her and introduced volleyball. And I don't know whether it was just stark luck that I was lost or whether it was stalking me. But at the end of the day, she should really give it a try. Lo and behold, not only did it a try, but worked under Barton Bruce for a very successful high school career in the state champion from 82, one of the, I think, in 84. And that then led me to George Mason University, which is the next step right on the bottom. It's in Fairfax, Virginia. And played volleyball there for 4 years. Met my wife in Fairfax, and did you believe our wedding reception was right on that wall, right there. Band was right there. So another memory to be sitting there and staying here. Beautiful reception on it. Yeah, this is really how I get it. My brother reminded me of that just this morning. But Fairfax also brought me another opportunity, and that is after graduating with a degree in speech communication. From really honest, I didn't have a big master plan. That's what I was going to do. And I was working for a consulting firm, and then I worked for a large credit union, served the army and the military in Alexander, Virginia. But sport was something that always meant hate out in this case. We're not cool. Of course, it's cool. Anyone who wanted to be involved in sport and a passion for it. And one little anecdotal story. A colleague of mine, her name's Catherine Shaw. I have no idea what Catherine is. She was a wonderful woman. One day I came back from lunch, and she put a little 2x2 ad on my desk from an industry magazine called Advertising. At the time, I didn't have okay, and then companies would place ads. And what struck me about it, other than the fact that said international sports event seeks some sort of marketing manager was the fax number, was 2 digits away from my home number to find in Fairfax, which is about an 80-minute commute from Old Town Alexander. So I think I was as interested in the fact that it was sports as I was that the fax number was so close. It made have to get rid of the commute. But long story short, that was a Swiss-based company who maintained all the commercial rights that people were about. which was going to be taking place in the US, summer. And, then probably do a separate presentation on it, but I got that job. And that job was about a half mile from my nightclub place. And that World Cup, set the path for my career. So not only had I not really known I was going into sports, my very first gig in sports, was arguably, and I would say beyond that, the biggest sports event. After that event, and the success, and I touched on that, that company by New York, they were really the architects of sports. Architects in that they were the first to identify events like the World Cup, events like the Olympics, what they had to, the ability they had to reach for many, many markets, get accommodations, and pull together a property that brands, Coca-Cola, Adidas, Fuji Bell, and all these big companies say, hey, we want to break through their volumes. How can we use sports that way? And that's what that company focused on. And they literally are to this day, the former companies coming down. A lot of people graduated from it and still have a good alumni. But they brought me over there, and I worked for what I promised my wife to be a 2-year venture in Central Switzerland, and that turned into 15 years. And that 15 years was not only focused on the World Cup, as John mentioned, we were involved with sports all around the world. So whether it was ice hockey in the Nordics, or bobsled in Finland, and then a lot of my career towards the end was focused on entering into the Asian market. With a lot of Asian people, a lot of Chinese companies or Chinese sports trying to figure out how can we accelerate our growth. And they were hosting the Olympics in 2008, so I was given the challenge to bring our country there for 4 years and spend about 200 days a year in China and learn so much. Fascinating. I got another anecdotal story. I was with a boss at the time, older Swiss gentleman, came out of banking, wonderful guy, and very, very worldly, and it's like had the best sense of humor. Anywhere he's like, John, if you live in the dog, I thought, okay, we got to go to Shenzhen, which is southern part of China, and we're meeting the Chinese Basketball Association about Chinese properties and all that. And we're driving there, we go to the new airport, brand new airport. And out of the blue, these wonderful Chinese people just heard around us. That follows, what they were doing. And they took us to a Kentucky Fried Chicken. and Oscar and my boss, what you got? And I'm like, I don't know, just go. So we're sitting there having our Kentucky Fried Chicken and smiling, and we're taking cameras and everything else, and they send us on our way. And we're like, okay, this is cool. Okay, got a free lunch out of it. So next day we're there with the officials coming at the Chinese Sports Association. And first thing I do is put the newspaper on our desk, and there's Oscar and I in the front page celebrating the grand opening of the first Western Kentucky Fried Chicken in China, commenting on how wonderful it is that we're able to find affordably priced and delicious food from our homes in China. It's one of those things, it's priceless and just kind of personifies the types of experiences that you have in different parts of the world. So Switzerland again, wonderful experience, but there was a time, it was time to come home. And after 15 years, my wife and I decided to come back, and we had already owned a home in Ocean City, Maryland, because that was the place that we had found easy when we were flying back with the family. Called kind of middle between North Pennsylvania and the West End. And we found a way to make that work. My wife teaches, we raised 3 kids there. Switzerland is fantastic. It was all 3 children born there. It wasn't really home. Living in an expat community, going to an international school where the average car probably costs more than 3 of our homes combined here. And it was just a very, very affluent area that we're in. And we enjoyed it, and we loved the luxuries of it, but it didn't always feel right. So we had to come back and put down in Ocean City and have our kids be young enough to establish themselves in the community. I went to the public school system there. My wife, in fact, got her degree teaching to this day there, and I've been able to make it work from a professional standpoint. But I also didn't really have a master plan when I got there. I what was next. But what I knew is all the years I spent abroad, we didn't do that much business in the U.S., despite how significant this is a sports market. But I knew I still had some connections, and I still knew that World Cup '94 is where I got started. So they were the first phone calls that started making in 1994. And lo and behold, just as I was getting back, they were deciding to do it for the 2022 World Cup. So that's the World Cup that was finished. a few months ago in the car. And they said, well, listen, you know, given the background, given how close you are with FIFA and you understand sports and you're involved with 94, why don't you help us with that? So I took that role, and a lot you can read about that day. Okay, as you might know, we did not win, despite the fact that we put forward a tremendously positive and good deal. And my job is less than the politics. My job with these kids has always been to organize all the state level, all the cities, all the governments, all the stadiums, all the facilities, get them behind the common message, put that on a box with a bow on it, and then look for the gods and Zurich at that time. With both for us, and that case they didn't, so they went to them. Again, back to the separate book you can write in December, I worked on that experience. But following that, I then went back into more broader sports marketing, to work for a large large advertising for WPP, one of the biggest agencies in the world. And my job there, I oversaw the global practice to help advise big brands, companies who want to invest in sport and where the best investments might come. Did that for 6 or 7 years. But I will say there wasn't a day that went by that we didn't think about losing the World Cup there. And we are very close brethren, our friends who stayed close to that. So fast forward 7 years to, it was like December of actually 2016, officially I think announced in 2017, they asked me to come back and lead Canada, Mexico, US joint bid to host in the 2026 World Cup. So it didn't take long for me to confirm that I'm all in. And that's what kind of brought me from York, Pennsylvania to where I am today. To help us with how we'll be successful in doing that, and what you as hopeful fans of the World Cup or sports in general will experience and get to so to do that, you know, someone like John, you introduced me, you talked about FIFA, and when you talked about soccer or football, that probably gives me the best transition to start talking about really what the opportunity is with. So I didn't get the brief on, I'm not going to talk about football, but I am going to start talking about the perspective that you need when you look at a World Cup. I assume many of you watched the big game weekend, and I assume many of you are happy with the call of survival, but it is what it is in sports, we know that. But to put it in perspective, the Super Bowl, now these are last year's figures, this is not the game that took place on Sunday. We do about 208 million viewers, for which about 120 of them were in the US, and then the rest is spread out to other parts of the world. That's certainly something that a lot of people down looks at every day. And says our growth is not here, our growth is abroad. So if you see what the NFL is doing, I think a lot of folks to take them to game abroad. And why is that? Because the World Cup, okay, the single game where you saw Lionel Messi win with Argentina against France was viewed by 1.5 billion people. Okay, so 7 times plus at the Super Bowl, and that was just one game. Keep in mind the World Cup is currently in a 40 events, or 16 people. So in terms of just perspective of size, the World Cup really does stand alone. Looking back over my career and more recently where the World Cup is held, in 1994, the World Cup was here. Interesting, when the World Cup was here in 1994, it was 24 teams and 50 teams. Spread across 9 cities. In 98, when it went to France, it expanded to the current format that it's in, which is 64 matches. Sorry, 30 teams. And every other World Cup that you see up there followed that same format. However, the World Cup in 1994 still holds the record in the tickets that were sold, even though you had to consider less matches. We sold over 2 million tickets for the World Cup, and that's a record that still holds together, and will only be broken when the World Cup comes back in 2026. I'm showing these slides here, and then I have to remember to change slides. If I'm not how to sync it over, because I'm staring at that and I'm really not sharing slides yet. Anyway, overview of 26 World Cup. It's a month-long tournament. Okay, it's a minimum of 30 days that it takes, right? Historically, it always happens in the summer. This last World Cup, it's had a lot of exceptions. It was moved to the winter because some people didn't realize that it gets a little warm in the Middle East when they decided to accept their bid on the decision they was taking. But again, that's for a separate discussion. But the bid for 2026 goes back to the summer calendar. First time ever, the World Cup will be hosted by 3 nations. There wasn't joint bid historically, yes. It was in Japan and Korea in 2002. The reality is that was kind of an afterthought. It was only a very, very limited bid process and people could not decide how possibly to decide on one versus the other. But the politics got involved and said, well, let's just pick from both. But this bid from the onset was determined that it was going to be the first time we ever had 3 nations bidding at the same time. That format that I told you that is currently 32 teams is now going to 48 teams with 80 matches. So this will be the largest World Cup in history. So when I then talk about how all the records will be broken, that 2 million ticket number that we sold in 1994, you'll be looking at probably 5 million tickets. The expectation is that every match will be sold out for the World Cup in 2000. So my work on the bid really started when I got that phone call in late 2016. This announcement here, I think we dated July 6th is when we actually did the press announcement to formally kick it off. My role as executive director was to ensure that all the requirements that people were asking for from the bidding nation were complied with. And we were able to piece together all the stakeholders we needed across the country, and that's from the federal government all the way down to the local training site. There might be one of the teams, getting a common story together that they could all appreciate and stand behind, organizing all of the documentation, and doing that in a time period that was about 7 months. While also knowing that we had a holiday season in between and end of summer and everything else holiday. Whereas the bid that I managed in for the 22 World Cup, we had almost 2 years. So this was a very, very accelerated process that we had to undertake for this. The way we approached it in terms of messaging, first of all, is one of unity. The reality is we're always confident the U.S. could have picked it. We have the facilities, we have the ability to do it. But when you understand the politics of people, when you understand the direction people is trying to go with a larger World Cup format in the future, and their emphasis on joint bids, we said, listen, this is something we really have to embrace. We have great friends in the north, we have great friends in the south. They love the notion of hosting the World Cup, but frankly, it would be a stretch on their own competitive. So it was kind of an easy decision for us to say, listen, this will be truly another bid. And we'll use that as the main part of that we will use whether it's Canada, Mexico, and the US. And it was even part of the decision process that the US was the last one we listed, wherever we go to Canada, Mexico, and the US. So unity was something we played very, very hard throughout the whole thing. Certainty was another component because you all know the controversy around Olympic Games or World Cups that are going in the markets that are building all these white elephant stadiums for one-time use, and lo and behold, a couple of years ago back, these facilities aren't going to use all this money. I've been put to. We were really playing off the certainty part. We were spoiled as a nation to do that. So we also had a discussion that we just kind of piling our horn, but it was something that really did resonate. Is to say, people, you can focus on growing a game and not building stadiums. Build a game, not build a stadium. So that certainly was something that we played very hard. Played right into as well that people are looking for in terms of not having to face some of the criticism of some of the past work. But they certainly was key for us. It's given people a chance to kind of really getting back to the game, because some of their past World Cups, whether it's Qatar, whether it's South Africa, whether it's Brazil, whether it's Russia, each of those are kind of building it from scratch. Olympic Games, if you go back recent time, you'll see it well, similar type of story. It certainly was good. Opportunity on a number of fronts. Again, opportunity for people to prove the blueprint of joint hosts. for an event of this magnitude, because again, future World Cup, there's not a single country that can handle an event of this magnitude. So the joint bids are going to be a common place that you're going to see all along with big future World Cup. The opportunity for the game here, somebody was asking me earlier about where do we see the game going. MLS, which some of you might follow, or you might follow the Premier League, or you might follow the Bundesliga, you might follow Serie A, you might follow Liga X, you might follow La Liga. We have so much football soccer available to us in this country right now, unlike anything ever before. MLS is a baby. MLS was not even in existence until after the World Cup in 1994. In fact, it was one of the legacy commitments that U.S. soccer made to FIFA to bring in the World Cup in 1994, is they would launch a professional league. So MLS is just now 30 years old. You know, a few years ago, because I assume it's an NFL fans, you all saw the players with 100 years they were celebrating. Okay, they're 100 years. They've got us by 70 plus years. So MLS is in a good place. You look at what NWSL is doing with the women's game. We see this as kind of like the North Star, kind of the second half, having the World Cup coming back in terms of just being a real outlet for the sport. I mean, another major, positive with the MLS and even the women's league now is when they first started playing, their idea was, well, we need to kind of be in the NFL stadium. We need to be, where we can find the cheapest possible land. Okay, someone will give to us. Let's put a stadium out there. We want to be out there with the soccer moms. That's changed so drastically. I mean, the MLS infrastructure with soccer-specific stadiums that are built right in the center of city sections, hosting 35,000 people as our real street stop. So there's a lot of success that MLS has achieved, and I think it's only going to go further now as we go by World Cup. So that's part of that opportunity theme that we played. When the bid finally came together after those 7 months, we had a basket of riches. As I reached out across the 3 countries, at one point we had 52 cities who raised their hands saying we want to be in. We meet the basic requirements. And we went through a kind of a detailed assessment with my team and everyone on the technical side and the political side and everything else. And by the time we actually submitted the bid, we only had a requirement from FIFA to submit between 16 and 18 cities. We actually submitted 22. We had to get a special exemption to do that. And the argument was, listen, we have all these cities that are so interested. This will play to your favor in the future because you're going to have a better time to get to know them as you then go about coming up with the final list of where to get a shot. So when the bid went in, the FIFA had to judge it on. It would be 22 cities spread across the 3 countries that they're going to accept. As I mentioned, what did the bid actually include? Well, there was about a 530-page book itself that had to detail everything from your approach to transportation, your approach to security, your approach to all the different venues. You just don't need the stadiums to play the matches. You need training sites aligned with every stadium, so when the teams come in town and have a place to play. You need a home for every team. So those teams that show up 30 days before a World Cup and they need a base camp, a place to call home and get acclimated and everything else. They need to have 64 of those. Every one of those had to be contracted. We had requirements for that all of this had to be contracted. We had to have federal government coordination. How are you going to do the visas? What if a country that's on a blacklist qualifies for the World Cup? Are we going to let them into the country? How are we going to deal with medical supplies? It seems like a transport from Mexico to the U.S., or from the U.S. to Canada. All of these things were tied into federal government coordination and federal government guarantees. But we had to make sure we're included in our plan-idea submission. We had to have the host cities on board because beyond the stadiums themselves, there's public security, there's local transportation, there's FanFest. FanFest sounds like an easy thing. I wish there was a lot of further. FanFest is a remarkable outdoor public viewing gathering for the overflow of people who can't go to the stadium. And the FanFest in Seoul, in Seoul, Korea, South Korea, I think had 1.5 million people out at one time. In Munich, in Germany, they had well over 1 million. They had a little bit more capacity restrictions. I think there were 500,000 people. So it's fantastic, that's something the cities have to live with. We have to find a location for it, that has to run the entire duration of the term. So the host cities are instrumental for this, all the stadiums, training sites that I mentioned, airports all have to be contracted. Major emphasis on human rights and sustainability, were a core cornerstone of all of our business. So that's what ultimately was delivered. That was some of the 13, that was the current president of US Soccer, in the front there. And they were literally driven over or flown over in freights, to Zurich. Next I'm going to show you is, a steeper review of all of this. Back and forth on evaluations, inspection visits, and all the other good things. We then met in Moscow on the eve of the World Cup in 2018, just kicking off, and that's when the vote was going to take place. I've got a short video here I'll show you, which kind of sums up the way we positioned it for the FIFA delegation before the decision.
One event. Three emotions. A world of opportunity. They speak different languages, embrace different cultures, but in soccer, we find common ground. This is the game that inspires billions of hopes and dreamers. It's the biggest pilgrimage of sports fans on earth. With half the world watching closely, and in 2026, it will be bigger than ever. Canada, Mexico, and the USA, let's rise to the challenge and honor of staging this great event. We have the stadiums, we have the infrastructure, we can show the world what it means to be united. By working together to offer a blueprint for future events, but to win the first 48 nation World Cup. Drawing on our culture, our talents, and our shared sense of purpose, we can showcase what our nations, cities, and communities can achieve. Connecting with fans in new ways and creating a lasting soccer legacy. Looking forward, well, giving back. This is our time to inspire, to transform, to overcome adversity, to build something that will be remembered for generations. We are already working together towards this single goal. Decided to host the 2026 FIFA World Cup, united as one.
So that's how we pitched it, and that was the result. And then June 13th in Moscow, as people voted, we were then successfully awarded the right to host the World Cup in 2026. So pretty special moment there. No anecdote, we were in that room and the live feed was supposed to start somewhere around 6 a.m. Eastern time here. We were waiting for President Putin to show up because he was going to give the opening remarks and he was almost an hour late. And I don't know whether they're frustrated in house there, but the irony was that then became live footage for all the morning talk shows in the U.S. It's kind of an attitude given that we want it. Maybe we would have been if we had lost, but anyway, it's a very special moment. What's been happening since then? You know, tremendous amount of pre-planning work. I think you're going to see an enormous amount of activity over the next probably 6 to 12 months. FIFA has spent most of its time, as I mentioned to you, we put more cities in the bid than they actually were going to host matches. And most of the focus over the last several years with COVID in between is to narrow that list down. And that all resulted in June of 22 with FIFA making the announcement of the final host city list, which I'll show you right here. So they took that 22 that we have and they whittled it down to 16.
11 World Cup host cities in the United States, with Philadelphia being obviously the closest to here, but the Northeast corridor is going to be very, very busy. The Amtrak line in New York and New Jersey, Boston, we have Atlanta and Miami, Kansas City, Dallas and Houston, LA, Bay Area, and Seattle, and then we have Canada and Toronto, plus the Vancouver, sorry, and Toronto, plus Monterey, Guadalajara, and Mexico. The road to 26, again, that planning will continue. Right now, you're having all the cities that are really setting up their organizational structures, all the stadium preparation. Ironically, even though we have all the stadiums that exist, the vast majority of our stadiums have to go through renovations. The field of an NFL stadium is far too narrow to accommodate a full FIFA size field. So even the newest stadiums are a little SoFi stadium, and I won't give the numbers, but it's in the millions of dollars. AT&T Stadium in Dallas, MetLife Stadium, they all have to widen the field. And they have to go through other renovations. So all these renovations will start taking place over the next, they use the summer months when they have downtime. That cities will be going through a lot of fundraising. You'll start to see probably as early as spring of this year, with the start rolling out a lot of promotion with the event logo and the themes and all of that. So tickets, which a lot of people ask about, likely won't be for November, December, which is when the final draw is. When you actually know the teams that are better taking part. So yesterday, FIFA did confirm, and it's like the worst kept secret, that the US, Canada, and Mexico will automatically qualify, so there's no chance that they're gonna not show up for the party, which is kind of nice. And that sits on my desk. It's a little timer that I have with the countdown. So I think that was as of last week I took that picture. So we're about 1,204 days now. I think for the World Cup to start. So it's hard to believe it's under 4 years. But time is taking an enormous amount of effort to go into it. Great opportunity for York. I mentioned Philadelphia. I think the closer you get to Philadelphia, they have a really ambitious host committee. They see this as more than just a city hosting it, but as a state, as a region. And you think about the influx of tourists, you think about the influx of World Cup and soccer related events are going to happen between now and 26. There's no reason that York shouldn't be able to benefit from some of that activity. And I know the Philadelphia host committee is very eager to have those types of discussions. That I thought I'd end my thank you on, just to bring back, that was the Guangdong newspaper article of Oscar and I, okay? And if you read the caption, you see how much we love the KFC. But what I would like to do is open the door for any questions. I know I ran a little bit late here, but happy to address everything I can. Sure. The number is asking me the number of the 1.5 billion viewers for the World Cup final within the US. That number is probably between 30 and 40 million. Okay, and that cuts across Spanish and English language. Any other questions? Sure. You know, it's kind of bad. We ask, what's the main thing that keeps me awake at night, or, you know, all the work that we put into it. I mean, at the end of the day, there's a long line of people who would love to do what I've done and the role that I've identified, but it's a huge team that supported all of this. I mean, now we're in a period right now where you have to keep me up at night. It's all right now. It's a lot of posturing and formations and setting up organizations and a lot of talking about it, but not doing it. So we'll be moving into a phase over the course of the next probably 6 to 12 months where things really start to get done. And I look forward to that. Because you get into all the kind of politics and positioning and all that sort of stuff, that kind of gets a little tiring. That keeps me up. Hey, I love it.
How did you overcome the disappointment of 2012? That third and market back in first.
I guess
it wasn't a fair bid.
No, it wasn't a, you would argue it wasn't a fair bid. I guess it's in our DNA that we just don't give up. You know, really, it was that simple. We knew we were wrong. Okay, we knew we had the strongest possible bid. And quite frankly, less myself and more with the presidents of the three soccer federations, they had a lot of very open discussions with people about what it would take for us to do that. And FIFA did change
in a good way, in terms of way the bids were going to be reviewed, how the voting was. The bid for 2022 that we lost was only 24 individuals who voted in secrecy. Okay. Whereas the bid for 2026 was the entire FIFA members, 211 members in a public vote, open in real time. You could see who they voted. So that transparency, if we hadn't had that assurance, I don't believe it.
One more. Most important question, is there any remote possibility that beer will not be available in the fan? In any of the stadiums in Canada?
I think that's extremely unlikely. It has to take. Thank you very much. John, thank you very much. You can see where our focus is here at York, happy hour and beer. Seriously, thank you so much for making the effort to be here with us today. Thank you on behalf of our country for the enormous effort that you put in that will reap amazing benefits. And we just trust that everywhere you go in these coming years, you'll make it clear that all of this comes down to you being from York County. In honor of his visit with us, John has signed the book plate in the book, Don't Let the Pigeon Drive the Bus. I don't know what to do with that. By O. Williams, which will be donated to Smith Steam Academy. And again, we thank you. Our program for next week is entitled Building a Strong Community Through Capital Investments in Not-for-Profits. York has a proud tradition of leaders working collaboratively to build a strong not-for-profit community. While the landscape has changed as businesses have evolved, the tradition continues. 4 speakers will discuss how different stakeholders work together. Michael Haiti, The Changing Landscape of Philanthropic Leadership. Larry Richardson, How Not-for-Profits Thrive Over Decades. Danny Bean, Assessing Not-for-Profits' Readiness for a Capital Campaign. And our own Dave Beckley, The Evolution of the York Area Capital Campaign Review Group. Also, I will be traveling on business next week, so our meeting will be led by our esteemed President-elect Aaron Jacobs, who always has my gratitude for bailing me out. Thank you, Aaron. Our closing quote today: believe in yourself. You are braver than you think, more talented than you know, and capable of more than you imagine. This meeting stands adjourned. Thank you. Safe travels.
Questions?